11 inches. Not bad.
Damn. This is a long, thick lens. With the lens hood on, this lens is 11 inches, which easily makes it the biggest piece of equipment in my arsenal. I initially got it because I was jealous of all the full-frame Sony users with their 70-200 telephoto lens. Have you ever seen a photo where the background is like really compressed, which makes the background look a bit bigger and everything looks a bit closer than it actually is? Those photos tend to be taken with a telephoto lens. And I wanted a piece of that action and take some tasty compression shots myself. So for my New York trip that I did last year, I got this Tamron 70-300 f/4.5 to 6.3 lens. And I thought in today's video I'll go out in London and put this lens to the test. I'll do some street photography, some time-lapse and time-slice photos, as well as some portraits with it, just to show what kind of performance you might expect if you were to get this lens for your Sony APS-C camera. As always, I've got the settings up on screen in case you're curious, so sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the video.
I'm so zoomed in, like they're so far away from me. That's wild. Yeah, we lift it up a bit higher and see what the compression looks like. I'm zoomed in at like almost 300mm, which is mad. It's really hard to hold the camera still. Every little movement I do, it gets like magnified because I'm zoomed in so much. Look.
Oh wow, that's really, really cool.
I got a few action shots of this family like taking pictures as well. This is probably the kind of lens that like paparazzi use, yeah, fully. Okay, I'm stood here by Trafalgar Square. I want to see if I can zoom all the way in to get a picture of Big Ben. And the answer is yes. Very comfortably. I like the clouds today, they're kind of dramatic. Okay, we're seeing some cool guards just outside of this building, and because I've got my 70-300 with me, I don't need to get any closer. I can just stay here and get shots. Let's see. I don't love the framing. Maybe I'll get a bit closer. Yeah, like if he's actually riding the horse, there's no way he can see the road. Looks cool though.
Maybe that's the point, that it's like deference or something, that his gaze is lowered.
Oh wow. Deep. Nice, I caught some. Look.
Wow.
Let me see how close I can zoom into Big Ben. Oh wow, I'm actually too zoomed in already. It's barely in frame.
That's cool.
Just get the clock face maybe. I don't even know how to compose these photos. It's so zoomed in and so much detail. Bubbles in the London eye, like how close I can get. Maybe we'll pass later and I can get even closer. Whoa. Oh, that would be really sick for like a sunset shot. I like the look of that golden, do you see that golden bird? In front of the green bushes. I'm gonna see if that looks any good. It's just like a kind of a nice color contrast, I feel like. I kind of like this lantern, I want to take a picture of it. Yeah, if you're ever in London, guys, and you see that game, don't play it. You know, I was gonna wait till I was like perfectly in line with London Eye, but this way, I think it looks a bit better. Look, it's kind of like it looks like there's two lanes.
Yeah, I get you.
Zoom a bit more. Boom. Nice. Okay, just pulling into Tower Hill / Tower Bridge actually. I wonder if this is a cool compression shot if I zoom in all the way. Ooh, look how dense the crowd looks. That's the thing I really like about telephoto lenses, is when you zoom, the more you zoom in, the more compressed the image gets, which means that things seem closer together as they actually are, which is perfect for like, I don't know, traffic jam or dense crowds, because it just makes it look that much more dense and busy, which really adds flavor to the image. There's an ice cream van with bubbles. Looks kind of cool. I quite like this big leading line towards the gherkin shot. However, The 70-300 is probably too zoomed in. Yeah, it doesn't really work. That's a bit of a shame. I do kind of like the idea of maybe just zooming in all the way and just getting a texture shot of the gherkin, because it does have some pretty interesting patterns. You can really play around with these focal lengths to try and get different new types of framing that you wouldn't normally be able to get. Because normally I wouldn't be able to get close enough to the gherkin to actually take a shot where it's just like the tip of it, like in this shot, for example. Ooh, I really like the lighting here. Maybe someone crossing the street. I'm able to focus a little bit at this in these conditions. Once it's all the way zoomed in, and if the light is a little crazy, it definitely does struggle. I'm gonna hope that someone with a high-vis jacket crosses the road and hopefully give me a cool silhouette while they're at it. But let's see, there's a lot of cars. Okay, someone's crossing. Let's zoom in. I'm gonna use the fence in front of me for a bit of framing and try and get a shot of Tower Bridge in the background. However, there we go. The autofocus is struggling just a little bit because there's too many layers, so it doesn't know which one to focus on. Maybe this guy actually. Sweet, got the interaction I think. Let's move on. Play. Can I catch it? Whoa. I can zoom in so close into the plane. Well, the photo is going to be a bit boring because it's literally just the plane, but it's still kind of cool how close I can zoom into it, I guess. The sky looks really cool. It's almost like misty. Let me take a maybe vertical shot like this. The boat in the foreground. Boom. Potentially a good starting point for an edit. Let's see. Okay. Let's move down there, because I think down there I can maybe have a bit more space to be able to use the zoom lens properly. It's a bit crowded here. Maybe shadow the walkie-talkie. Unfortunately, I'm unable to actually capture the entire scene because I'm a bit too close to it. Like even base level zoom at 70, yeah, can't fit it in. So that's a bit unfortunate. That's something to keep in mind when using a lens that is this zoomed in, is some cities just aren't built for it. Okay, let's see. What can we do here? I kind of like that pocket over there. Maybe I'll wait for the red bus to come out of that tunnel. Sweet, happy with that. I really like the reflection of light just in front of us in the water there. So I'm going to try and capture that. I'm gonna go all the way to 4000 shutter speed, 1/4000 I mean, because otherwise the light's going to blow out everything. And boom, that looks kind of cool, I like that. Classic bus shot. Yeah, I don't really know where the golden hour has gone, to be honest. Like, all of this is just shade. Maybe I left the house too late today, but I'm not feeling particularly inspired by today's scenes. That's okay. That's part of photography sometimes. Sometimes you'll head out and you'll realize that, oh, the lighting isn't as good as I thought it would be. That's fine, that's part of life. We don't always get what we want now, do we? Okay, just finished work. Today I wanted to go out for an extra day for this POV because I wasn't really happy with the shots that I got yesterday, because I felt like I was not really in the right areas to fully showcase the capabilities of this lens. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go to this place called Garden at 120. If you have been in London, I'm sure you've heard of it before, but essentially it is like a sky garden on a budget. So you can get really nice views really high up, and it's completely free. You can just show up and go up, as long as you're within the opening times, obviously. Let's see if I can grab someone from over here. To be fair, the one of him smoking and pushing a cart looks kind of cool. Okay, if I remember correctly, Garden at 120 should just be around the corner. Basically, I really want to go to one of these viewing platforms, and Garden at 120 is free, because I feel like, especially in a lot of these street settings, I'm unable to actually use the zoom's entire capability. Oh, there's a cool pocket of light here actually. There it is, Garden at 120. So you have to queue up and go up one of those elevators, I believe. Oh boy, I hope the wait isn't too long. Even these bushes look kind of cool. I would take a photo in the shower, but I feel like it's too boring because it's literally, there's nothing in the background, it's just a clear sky, there's no real composition going on. So I'm going to give that one a miss for now. Take a few more of the tower though. Tower bridge, I mean. Ooh. I love the compression that this lens gives. Like, it just makes, I don't know, it just makes everything look a bit different. So if you look at this photo here with Tower Bridge and the sort of city in the background, you can see how enlarged the background almost seems, and that is because I'm zoomed almost all the way in at like 300mm. I like that orange box looking thing.
The main thing I wanted to do at Gardner 120 was take a time slice photo. I first came across it when I came across Matt Keneally's Instagram. This guy basically specializes in time slice photography, and I always thought it looked really, really awesome. Very simply said, you basically take a series of photos just like if you were to, for example, take a time lapse. But instead of putting it into a video form, you take a slice of each photo and basically combine it in Photoshop. If you're interested in more details on how I got the shot, let me know in the comments below and I'll drop a tutorial on it at some point.
Okay, we're recording. Can you actually use the telephoto lens, the 17-300 lens, for portraits? In this segment, I'm going to try and take portraits of my two very beautiful friends over here, Nick and Mel, who've asked me to get some shots for them. We're in Battersea Park and there's a lovely like Japanese pagoda building. I'm going to see how far away I need to go. Keep talking to each other and just smiling. I'm going to zoom in and hopefully the high aperture isn't too jarring. Actually, it works kind of well. Hold hands and look at me, that's nice. Mel, left leg over right leg, and Nick, I think you can stay like that, but you can also put one leg kind of up if that's more natural. I'm gonna get a bit lower, zoom in. The background's not going to be super blurry because I'm on f5, but that's okay because I'm zoomed in a lot and I feel like you get a bit of background blur when you're that zoomed in. But the compression's really cool, the gold background looks awesome.
Using the telephoto for portraits was pretty cool because of its effect on the background. Like I said earlier in the video, it makes the background appear a bit larger and a bit closer to your subject, which you can see in this photo where the golden wall behind Nick and Mel is basically really big and seems a bit closer than it actually is. However, because the minimum aperture of this lens is pretty high, you can't really lower your aperture, aka the f number, low enough to get a really nice sort of blurry background. But in this case, it worked out pretty well, but definitely something to keep in mind if you ever consider taking portraits with this lens. I have no regrets buying this lens. I think for the price point, it's done an amazing job at just giving me more focal ranges to work with whenever taking photos. Generally speaking, I just love the compression effect, as you probably noticed if you watched the video. I just really like the effect that a more zoomed in focal length has on the background. It makes everything bigger, it makes everything seem a bit closer together. It's hard to put into words, but when you see a really nice shot that was taken with a telephoto lens where the background is really compressed, you tend to notice it. Comparing this lens to its full frame sort of counterpart, the Sony 70-200 lens, you quickly realize its biggest weak point, which is the aperture. So while the Sony 70-200 has a minimum aperture of f2.8, this lens has a variable minimum aperture. So at 70, where it's basically all the way zoomed out, the aperture is 4.5. However, once you zoom in, the minimum aperture increases to 6.3, which quickly makes you realize it's not letting in a lot of light, and it's probably not going to give you a lot of background blur, aka bokeh. As a result of that, this lens isn't going to be the best lens for sort of night shots or portraits, because for those shots, you tend to want to let in more light, for which you need a lower minimum aperture. And for portraits, you also want to have that beautiful background blur, which this lens isn't really able to provide as much as the more expensive counterparts. I realize I keep saying full frame counterpart. I'm pretty sure this is actually a full frame lens, but I just went ahead and used it for my Sony APS-C without any problems. Overall, I'd say the lens is really pleasant to use. It has a really smooth sort of zoom ring. It feels nice, not too heavy to handle. The only issue I did face was sometimes it struggled with focus, especially when I zoomed in all the way to 300mm, which converted into full frame is actually 450mm, which is super zoomed in. When I was taking those shots, sometimes the camera struggled to focus on the subject because the subject was so far away from me that there was just a lot of potential distractions, maybe pedestrians or cars, between me and my subject. And because it's all in frame, because I'm zoomed in so much, the camera sometimes doesn't really know what it is I actually want to take a photo of. A quick fix for that was just simply using the screen where you tap to focus on the Sony A6500 just to make sure it focuses on your subject. So yeah, that wasn't really the lens's fault, more so just the fact that there was a lot of things between me and my subject. And that's pretty much it in terms of my sort of first impressions using this lens in London during the daytime. If you're curious and you want to see a more dedicated, full-length review video of this lens, just like I did for the Tamron, make sure you let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video as always. I'll see you next time.